On October 11th, 1998, 32-year-old Daniel Mercer drove into the outskirts of a forgotten rural town. He was a land surveyor, hired to evaluate an old property left behind by a family who had mysteriously vanished. Decades earlier, local residents warned him not to stay after sunset. They spoke of strange lights in the woods, of voices echoing from an empty house, and of shadows wandering behind the broken windows. But Daniel brushed it off as superstition. The farmhouse stood alone at the end of a dirt path, the trees bending unnaturally toward it, as if the forest itself was trying to swallow the house. Pulled inside, everything seemed frozen in time. A coat still hung by the door. Plates were set on a table covered in dust. There was an unsettling silence, thick and heavy, as if the air itself were holding its breath. Daniel walked through each room with a flashlight, taking notes, until he reached room 6. The door was closed, unlike the others. The surface was covered with deep scratches, long, uneven, and desperate. At the center of the door, a single word had been carved. "Stay." Daniel felt a chill crawl up his spine. Still, he turned the knob. Room 6 was empty. No furniture, no windows, only a flickering ceiling bulb connected to a wire that shouldn't have been receiving power at all. The temperature dropped instantly. Daniel could see his breath fog in front of him. Then, he heard it. A small tap behind him. Another. And then a third. Slow, deliberate, rhythmic. He turned, but the hallway was empty. He called out, expecting maybe a raccoon or a loose beam shifting in the cold. But the house answered him. A whisper, not a voice, not quite a breath, moved past his ear. Daniel backed into the room, and the door slammed shut behind him with such force that dust fell from the ceiling. His flashlight began to flicker violently. Then the bulb overhead stopped flickering. It went completely still. The room did not brighten. Instead, a figure slowly formed in the far corner. A faint silhouette at first, then a darker shape, then unmistakably human. Daniel tried to speak, but his voice was gone, trapped somewhere inside his chest. The figure stood unnaturally still, its head slightly tilted, its arms hanging at impossible angles. And then its feet began to slide across the floor, without lifting, without stepping. Gliding silently toward him, Daniel collapsed to the ground, crawling backward, his nails digging into the wood. The air grew heavier, pressing down on him, each breath a struggle. The figure stopped only inches from Daniel's face. He couldn't see a face, just overwhelming darkness where a person's features should be. Then, in a voice that didn't sound like a single person, but like dozens whispering in unison, it spoke. "You shouldn't have opened the door." The light exploded, bright, violent, forcing Daniel to cover his eyes. When he opened them again, the figure was gone. The door to room 6 stood wide open. He didn't think. He ran. Down the hallway, through the kitchen, through the broken front door, into the cold night air. He didn't stop until he reached his truck, hands shaking so violently he dropped the keys twice. He sped away without ever looking in the rearview mirror. Daniel quit his job a week later. He refused to return to the property, even to collect his tools. Investigators who later entered the house reported the same unusual electrical behavior, the same cold spots, and the same scratches on the door of room 6. One detail remains unexplained. On the inside of the door, the side Daniel swore he never touched, new scratches appeared. Fresh ones, deep ones, and together they formed a single word. Run. Whether you believe Daniel's story or not, the house still stands today. And room 6 is still waiting for whoever opens the door next.